Welcome to Unit 7.2, Healing with the Help of Others. I'm Diana Lindsay. In the last video, we looked at how the impact of the social environment is on our healing. In this one, we're going to try to see how we can optimize that environment so that it provides the most healing possible. When I was diagnosed with a terminal illness, this is how everyone treated me. They hugged me. They were caring. They were kind. People who knew me were kind. People who didn't know me were kind. This wasn't about me. It was about the human capacity for empathy and kindness. It was everywhere. And I started to realize how beautiful this was, that even in the face of mortal danger, I felt a basic level of human goodness and kindness. And I started to wonder, we all have a terminal illness. Why can't we all be kind to each other? It has changed me forever. I no longer have any relationships that aren't founded on kindness. I believe that this is the bedrock of being human. But unfortunately, this is not the case everywhere. So if we are to create a healing environment, we have to start with the fundamental understanding that we have to create a safe one. Any environment with power and control at its center, physical, emotional, or sexual abuse as its result, is not healthy. To be well, we have to be willing to leave these relationships. This wheel was developed by the Domestic Violence Intervention Project in Duluth, Minnesota. They also have a model for restoring or building new relationships based on equality and respect at the center. There are many good ideas in here if your primary domestic relationship needs strengthening. But today we're going to focus not on the ideal relationship nor a good relationship. We're going to look specifically at the relationship in terms of its capacity to enable healing to occur within it. And this begins with ourselves. We are each circles of one that appear to be circles of many, because we have many voices inside us. A voice that says, I'm terrified, and a voice that says, I'm resilient. One that says, I love and am loved, and in the next minute feels ashamed and blamed and not worthy of that love. We have voices that say, I can't. At the same time, we have a voice that says, I can. So our first job is to try to reconcile and make peace with ourselves so that healing can occur within us. Let's take a look now at our inner circle, the people we spend the most time with, and the people that we count on the most for our healing. Each of these relationships either contributes to or takes away from healing. The issue that we find, however, is that many of these relationships are infiltrated and corrupted by our past relationships. And as we learned in the last unit from Daniel Kahneman's TED Talk, our perception of happiness is different between our remembering minds and our experiencing minds. The past has an energy that can be associated with our memories. In situations like post-traumatic stress, each time a memory door is open, the negative chemistry associated with it is released. By definition, this energy is stuck, not moving, like the backwater in a river. So if we're looking to have clear, clean, energetic relationships that keep us moving forward towards healing instead of blocking it, we have to begin by clearing out our past. This leaves us free then to experience what these relationships are like in the present. Are they healing or are they not healing? The goal is to change them all to healing. But sometimes there are some relationships where this is difficult. These relationships then need to transform so that the environment stays well. In your textbook, The Buddha's Brain, Rick Hanson has some beautiful ideas, truly spiritual ideas, of how to affect this change. These ideas range from on your own cultivating positive emotions, an awareness of being aware of what the environment, what the priming in the environment is that we talked about. It involves being compassionate to yourself and towards others, practicing generosity on your own, being willing to accept the wound, relax your own sense of being affronted, and then learn to treat with loving kindness a new relationship. You can try these out, you don't need to try them all, and see which one might work. in changing a relationship that's not very healthy. But if you can't, then you must be willing to let that one go, at least from spending much time in it. During different stages of our lives, our inner circles change, and sometimes an illness can strike when that circle is small, even empty. If you like it this way, then this is the right way for you. If you don't like it, or if you need more help because of the severity of your condition, don't despair. A pet can be a wonderful source of healing energy. And so can medical professionals, whether they're from Eastern or Western medicine, whether they address the body, the mind, or the spirit. But medical teams are social and learning organizations themselves. You are responsible for building that team, and in some cases, you may be the only link. Are they all within one institution, or do you have them spread across multiples? If they're spread apart, do they all have access to the same information? Clinics today have electronic medical records that attempt to have that information shared readily, and this has turned out to be very important for me. But I have included many other people on my team who don't have access to those records. And at the same time, while my oncologist has access to my labs and tests and charts, my therapist, my massage therapist have information about my interactions and dreams that my oncologist doesn't. My acupuncturist and medical Qigong practitioner have information about my energy patterns that neither of the others do. Now a question comes up of, do they agree? If they don't, do they share their disagreement with you? And how do you reconcile their differing opinions? This is where that awareness of your inner knowledge that we talked about in Unit 4 can prove so vital. Your community may also have support groups connected to faith-based organizations, medical support resources, simply your place of work, a place where you might have volunteered, as well as your friends. Another place in today's world that can be very important for support is the virtual community. These can be related to an illness like cancer communities. They can be related around different methods of healing. They can also involve your ability to access through email, through Facebook, through CaringBridge, people that you've known. And that's when you can use that ability of the memory to open up a memory drawer to release positive chemistry. Now, these are the people that are in front of you. How do you work with them? What is the attitude that you bring forward? Most people don't know how to help you. Some people, however, are very gifted at it, and you might be surprised by who is in which category. People will look to you to know how they should respond. What matters most is that you let people know you love them and how much they've meant to you in their life, and that they get the opportunity to tell you the same. By the time we're adults, most of us have found a way to fit into our society, accepting responsibilities within other relationships, work and family and service. And one thing that gets in the way of our health is that we often view taking care of ourselves as a selfish endeavor, especially when compared with taking care of the needs of others like children or aging parents. As we talked about in Unit 3, the first thing we have to do to get well is recognize that we have to be in charge of our own healing. We have to be the voice of ourselves. While I found it difficult to put the needs of the one, me, versus the needs of the many, four, in my family, it was easier to say, I'm taking care of my 100 trillion cells right now. I need the time to go take a walk. Now let's talk about asking for help. The first thing to note is that you don't have to ask for help. This is your right, and many people feel very differently about this. But one thing that can often get in the way if they do need to ask for help is this saying that it's more blessed to give than receive. Well, what I found is that sometimes it's more blessed to receive. And then I found that it was impossible to give without receiving and receive without giving. The corollary is to accept the help that is given. So how do people like to help? I found that everybody likes to pray or send energy or think of you, some means of communicating between their mind and mine. If they're in person, they can hug you. If they're away, they can send you an email or a card. Sending food, taking care of you physically, driving, or doing a chore are all traditional ways that people offer help. They also give you things that comfort you, a shawl, a quilt, a scarf, that keep you warm. And they give you sacred objects, things that mean a lot to them. You may not always understand the significance of them, however, and it can be difficult to unlock it. Of course, people like to give advice. "What a pity human beings can't exchange problems," said Olin Miller. "Everyone knows exactly how to solve the other's fellows." Now, the issue around that is maybe they do know the cure for cancer. Maybe they have found the latest study that is just the right thing for you. But maybe their advice is completely wrong for you. What I learned to do was to realize that no matter what kind of help it was, whether I understood it, whether I found it helpful, it was still coming from a place of love. And when I recognized that, my friends were able to relax. They knew you can't get it wrong with me. And so their fear of doing the wrong thing subsided. This is often what gets in the way of people giving help. But as you gain clarity about what helps you heal, you can help them help you better by being very specific in your requests. Now, I personally don't believe that anyone owes me care. Different cultures may think differently, but I found it much easier to not expect or demand help, but instead to accept it as a gift and always be grateful. For me, my time through cancer didn't have many moments where I was incapacitated and in deep need of help to get back to just square one. The vast majority of my time instead was spent living as fully as I could, which is why I resonated so deeply with Gabriel Garcia Marquez's farewell letter to his friends while battling cancer of the lymph nodes. My God, if I had a piece of life, I wouldn't let a single day pass without telling the people I love that I love them. I would convince each woman and each man that they are my favorites, and I would live in love with love. So these are what my relationships turned into. When I was first diagnosed, Kelly, my husband, too, was thrown into life crisis. Mine was losing my life, his was losing his life partner. We were both the first to worry about the other. He to watch in constant fear that I would deteriorate, me that the price of caregiving me would be too high for him to pay. There was a precedent in my family for that. My grandfather died of a heart attack from the strain of taking care of my grandmother as she battled lung cancer. He died in March. She died in May. It is easy to look at our relationship now and think, but I will never have that. But the truth is, before I got sick, like many long-married couples, our relationship was strained. But we learned that even after 32 years, we could still reclaim and reinvent it. In the face of illness, we could let aside all those little things that had bothered us. So why not just let them go now and skip the illness? I felt Kelly's love literally flowing through his fingertips to me. He'll tell you more about it in the next unit. Now, families keep us rooted in life and propel us forward, but we share so much more. Just as we learned with mirror neurons, when one of us feels joy or pain, we replicate it in our brains and our bodies. When I was first diagnosed, my whole family encircled me with the healing power of love and joy for a whole summer of love. They gave me the energy to get back on my feet. And as I got well, I released them to continue on with their lives. Children can be wonderful assets, more ears and doctor visits, more people to search. They can even help you in those moments when you struggle. But most of all, they're a reminder that life rushes on. Grandchildren are a source of constant love. They fueled my will to live. They gave me exercise by carrying them and just imparted that vast amount of energy. They were an easy source of happiness and joy, and they allowed me to focus on something outside of my cancer. My entire family is crazy. Look at them singing away. They're a lot of fun. I have a lot of youth in my family, nieces, nephews, honorary children. All of them brought the vitality of youth and the sense of optimism that comes from youth. I also have friends near, and I had friends back in time, and I started to systematically reach back to them. Those in elementary school, high school, college, the first place we lived, the second place we lived. Each of them imparted a beautiful chemistry of love and joy and connection. So I have to say that the first hope in our inventory must be that love will have the last word. Is it the only word? No. We all know too many people, and I know personally too many wonderful people who were well loved and who loved well, and yet illness still took them. This happens to us all. And yet to live life with the fullness of love is a beautiful way to use this time that we're given. So in your journal this week, draw a picture that includes everyone in your inner circle. Which relationships are healing and which aren't? Using the Buddha's brain or another resource, think about how you could transform your relationships into healing ones. And we'll see you in Unit 8.